Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another social studies psychology sort of video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share. Support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. Today, I'm going to do a video about why does the media lie to people? Why is it so easy to lie to people in general nowadays on the internet? And maybe why is it important for the media and maybe just people to lie to you? And I'm going to come at this from maybe a bit of a weird angle. And I'm going to use a lot of different examples. And I think it's maybe because kids are on the internet. Maybe it's because kids are on the internet. And of course, there's a lot of man-child, let's say. But maybe there's so many lies on the internet. And maybe it's important to lie to people because there's kids on the internet. And like, I want you to think about this. I'm going to give some weird examples, right? When you're a kid, you want to, when you're a kid, you can't have a deep conversation with a child. I would say, generally speaking, who knows, maybe there's some genius kid or something who's wise beyond his years, but generally a kid, you probably can't have a nuanced conversation. You want to have that fairy tale conversation that the world is a good place, despite maybe it not being a good place. You want to have easily digestible villains, easily digestible good guys. Now, of course, what I was talking about in recent videos and other videos before when I've talked about this, unfortunately now what is a hero, basically anybody can be a hero. Little Jimmy can be a hero for doing nothing. Little Jimmy, a child, you can tell a child that he can change his gender and he can be a fucking hero now. I mean, that's true, right? And that's not Clayton's Republican, that's not Clayton's Democrat or anything like that. That's just telling you, right? A child, you can give them a gold star and tell them that they're amazing for doing nothing, right? Nowadays, heroes in media, they're not the heroes that I grew up with, you know what I mean? Nowadays, again, gold star for just existing, right? But it's a nice thought, right? And I was thinking, maybe there's so much of this in the media now because of the internet and because kids can just go on the internet, right? And this isn't to say that you only learned at school, who knows? I guess I'm not old enough to say, but let's say 50 years ago or some shit. I don't know. Throughout history of the world, right? No one ever only learned at school, let's say. You learn through different social interactions, but we live in such a, internet, information is being thrown at us all over the place from left and right, right? It's a very fast-paced moving society, right? Information overload, right? But if a kid can go on the internet and randomly look at Twitter, randomly look at Facebook, maybe from a certain, let's say, perspective, it's important to lie because you're like, oh man, well, this kid might be looking at this. We got to say that this is the bad guy. We got to say that this is the good guy. There's no nuanced conversation, right? Because a kid might be looking at it, right? And of course, there's adults and everything like that. And, a lot of maybe humans in general, let's say, are kind of social creatures, right? A lot of people, pack animals, hive mind kind of thing, right? A lot of people want to feel like they're part of something, and that's why sometimes there's like movements, let's say. Sometimes people can just be insecure, so they want to believe the lie about someone, you know what I mean? Obviously, if you know my history, you can see how many people have lied about me, despite it obviously being not true. We would assume that they're either naive or they are, insecure. They just don't want to believe it, right? There's also the thought that it's easier to continue to fool a person than to convince them they've been fooled, right? If a kid looks on the internet and they look at a war in some country, you know what I mean? Maybe you don't want to have that nuanced conversation. That you just want to be like, oh, this is totally 100% the bad guy. This is totally 100% the good guy. This is bad, this is good. No nuanced conversation. And you're also a hero, little Jimmy, for doing nothing, right? I mean, I was even thinking maybe that's why, maybe that's why there's so many lies on the internet, because people are afraid that a kid might look at it, right? And it's nice to, you want to protect people because you want to give like a kid hope that, you know what I mean? That, the world is different. You don't want to tell the kid that he's growing up in a fucking crazy society, right? Maybe it's easier to tell the kid that you don't have to work hard and you'll still be special, even if you don't work hard. Just for existing, you're going to be special, right? I mean, that's a nice lie. That's a nice lie to tell someone that, You don't have to do anything actual special. You just by existing, you automatically get the gold star. That's a nice lie, right? And even a weird example, and maybe an extreme example, but if you think about it, I think it makes sense too. Think about something like sex, right? Obviously, you don't normally teach kids about sex, right? Like the earliest, that I can think of as a kid, you know what I mean? Like fifth grade, I think they tell you what sex is or something like that, right? And I remember, fifth grade, they tell you boys have a penis, girls have a vagina, penis goes in the vagina. And I was like, oh shit, that's weird. I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. A few years later, I wanted to do it, right? A few years later, I'm like, that might be kind of cool, right? But, which is even crazier. That's a crazy thing that, I'm not trying to get political, whatever. But I'm sure that must be crazy. Parents like teaching their kids nowadays, like, oh man, you're telling a kid that you're not even in sex ed yet. Kid isn't even in sex ed yet. They don't even know what sex is, but you're telling them they can change their gender and all this kind of shit. I think that's kind of weird, right? You know what I mean? I would even say that, yeah, there's people like, oh man, America's so weird. And I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm gonna come back around to this. I always feel like America is like, what do they say? Like most places in America, I think 16 is the legal age, right? But people say, oh no, I can't believe someone would have sex with like a 16-year-old. They're a child. They're still a child. What are you doing? But then they'll be like, oh, hey, my kid is 5 years old. Let's teach them about, he's not a boy. He's a milkshake. And tomorrow he's going to be a giraffe. And that's now he's special. He can be a boy and a girl at the same time. Blah, 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 blah. He's capable of making his own decision. Is that not weird? I always think that's weird. Like, again, I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I just kind of stand on the sidelines and think how crazy people are. Oh my God. I can't believe someone would have sex with someone if they're 16 and it's legal. That's a child. They don't know what they're doing. Oh, hey, my 5-year-old. They're a boy and a girl at the same time, as well as a rhinoceros. They can make their own decisions. Like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, point is, fifth grade, let's say, you know what I mean? You don't want to teach a kid about sex, right? You know what I mean? You got to give them the most easiest thing because, God, I say this as someone that I'm, to this day, as an adult, I'm a grown man. I'm a grown man, right? And I have had many different interactions with females, let's say. I've had many different conversations with girls from all over the world. Very, very blunt and honest conversations, interactions, whatever we want to call them. And I can tell you in these blunt interactions, I don't want to get my YouTube flagged. My YouTube already gets flagged enough, right? Especially go to these different cultures and everything like that. And I always think, oh man, Muslim girls, oh my God, you should, especially, boy, whoa, bro. Some of the stuff Muslim girls like on the dot. I guess maybe it's because you stereotypically think of someone as being more religious as them being more, innocent or something like that, right? I have had honest conversations, let's call them interactions with girls. And man, the fantasies and the way that they want it and everything like that, bro, sometimes I'm just like, whoa. Even as an adult now, I mean, some of these stories, and they're not innocent stories. Sometimes girls like it in ways, I guess I'm not a pervert enough. I'd say I would say I'm decently perverted. I guess, right? I'm up for a good time. But I mean, there's girls, I guess I'm not a porn connoisseur. There's stuff that girls and the fantasies that they've had, and even talking about the ages since they were doing it, dude. I am like, whoa. Nothing I've ever seen in a porno would prepare me for some of the things that girls like to do. Right? Some at the ages they've been doing it, right? And I'm like, whoa. Like sometimes I talk to girls and I'm like, dude, were you abused when you were younger? Like, are you okay? Were you abused? And they'll be like, no, it's what I've wanted. It's what I've always wanted. always, once they got to an age where they wanted it, right? But what I'm getting at there is these kind of honest sexual conversations, fantasies, things that are very, can't really talk about without my YouTube probably getting flagged. You know what I mean? These are not conversations that you would have with an actual child, right? When you first teach them sex ed, right? These are nuanced conversations, right? God, I mean, you go to Japan. I mean, look at what Japan is so crazy too, because man, you fucking go there, dude, and you know what the legal age in Japan is. And bro, that whole red light district, that sex area, dude, where you see fucking old grandpa dudes, young girls, dude, that's right next to the police station, dude. If you've been to Japan, police just walk by it, dude. It's right next to the police station and the hospital, dude. It's very out there in the open. I don't even know. Some of these countries are even more crazy than Japan, I've heard, right? I talked about, man, talking to Muslim girlfriends, all that kind of stuff, and I always think that, God, and again, I'm using a extreme example because I think it's somewhat relevant, right? Like I even remember the first time that, let's say, I masturbated, right? We're going crazy, like, Clayton, what the fuck are you talking about? I remember, I think I was like 12 years old or some shit, dude. You know what I mean? I just did it on accident. It was like an innocent thing, all right? But man, you talk to some girls, whoa, I'm like, that is not an innocent story. What the fuck are you doing, right? But they're like, no, it's good. I'm like, whoa, I'm like shocked, right? Again, but those aren't, black and white conversations, so to speak. Those are very like honest conversations with someone that trusts you, that this is what I like, this is what I've fantasized about, blah, 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 blah. These are my desires, whatever you want to call it, But those kind of conversations would not be appropriate for a child, let's say, a kid, whatever, right? That might be on their phone looking at Twitter, might be looking at Facebook, just on their phone, that they get any sort of information on the media, right? It's a nuanced conversation, right? And so again, that's an extreme example. And you're like, I know maybe some people are like, whoa, like that's such a weird example. But if you think about it, it's true, right? And that's why I was thinking maybe that's why there's so much, in a weird way. Maybe that's why it's so easy to lie on the internet. Maybe that's why it's, acceptable to lie to such a degree, because instead of the internet bringing people together, you would think, and which of course you can, of course people, you find camaraderie, whatever you want to call it, on the internet. You find people that have similar interests or hobbies as you. Of course there's, whatever, but when you're on the internet and just a kid can look at it, maybe you want to be like, oh bro, this is way too complicated of a conversation. We don't want to talk about this. You know what I mean? Let's just say they're the bad guy, this is the good guy. You know what I mean? This is bad, this is good. Oh, kid might be looking at it, no nuance here. This guy started the war, no whatever, blah, 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 blah. And from a certain perspective, I can understand, yeah, you probably want a kid to, you want to give a kid hope, and it's a nice idea that, oh, you don't have to do anything and you're automatically a hero. You know what I mean? That's a nice thought. Unfortunately, I think in some aspects it's not actually healthy, though. And I think it's hypocritical as well in some areas, but I guess what I was trying to get at, I was thinking maybe that's why. Because, just some of these factors. So again, talking about why does the media need to lie, why it lies, Why is it so easy to lie? You know, you got hive mind people, people that live in their own echo chamber. They've never been outside. They've never done anything. You know, they're not as worldly as they claim to be. They don't actually care about people. You know, a lot of people are evil. A lot of people are not good people legitimately. I mean, look at again, if you watch my channel for video games, a lot of people in the video game community have done very, very fucking evil things to me. And they are promoted as being good people, despite no proof of that whatsoever. It's pretty weird. Now you could say, why do so many people believe it? You could say, well, a lot of people are hive mind. A lot of people are naive. Even when I made that first buttmonger video, I can't tell you how many messages I got. People actually believed that I faked being sick and I faked all the tournaments I won. And they said they didn't know it was a lie. I'm like, whoa. You are really dumb. You are really, really dumb. Are you serious? How did you think I faked this all in the first place? Oh, well, I don't know. I just heard it, so I thought it was true. You're dumb. But you know, some people are pretty dumb. I mean, it's true. As a person that is pretty dumb, I am constantly surprised how much dumber people are. You know, sometimes people just believe a lie out of their own insecurity, right? And of course, there's that idea it's easier to continue to fool a person than convince them they've been fooled, right? Anyway, very bizarre kind of conversation, maybe. But it's just something I was thinking about because of the hero thing, and you know what I mean? Maybe that's why you got to lie to people. You know, maybe it's just the way, you know, it's nice to admit that April can be fat and derpy, and she, you know what? She's part of the team. She's a fucking hero. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, like I said, I get the healthy things. I'm like, man, again, I just think, again, I can understand the perspective of that. A kid needs to believe that the world is a good place, unfortunately. And I always say that I was one of those people that, unfortunately, I was overdosed on the red pill growing up and throughout my life. I've been force-fed the red pill, unfortunately, that it made me the way I am, right? You know, unfortunately, I was not given like micro doses of the red pill. I was force-fed it and like, you know, poisoned by it and just seeing how crazy the world really is and seeing, you know, extreme human interactions between people that I have experienced, you know, people using people, etc. You know, I haven't seen a lot of legitimately good people in my life, to be honest with you, right? But, you know, again, it's nice to tell a kid that the world is nice, because why would you want a kid to grow up in the first place where you got to tell them the harsh realities of the world, that the world is not fairy tales. You're not, you probably are just going to be a normal person, you know? And who wants to be normal, right? Who truly wants to be normal? Probably not many people truly want to be normal, truly, right? You want to be special, so hey, we'll be special. Hey, you're be part of this group. You're special, even if you've never done anything. You're special for existing, right? But anyway, if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.